Hello everyone. Today we will be balancing redox equations, both acidic and basic solutions. And today we'll be going over the rules, and then I'll run you through a basic example and an acidic example. And so the first rule is to write two half equations, and you're basically going to split up the equation into two parts and just put an equation with like elements on the top, and then a second equation with like elements. And so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to balance all elements that are not hydrogen and oxygen. And so we will deal with the hydrogen and oxygen in the next steps. And so after you balance all the elements except the hydrogen and oxygen, you're going to balance the oxygens. And to do this, you're going to add water. Since water already has an oxygen in it, it will not only add an oxygen that will help you balance on one side, but also it will add hydrogens. And so to counter these hydrogens that you just added, you're gonna balance the hydrogens on the other side by just adding the hydrogen ion, the H+. And then after adding H+, you might have charge that was previous there, or you might have added a charge. And so on both sides of your equation, you want the charge to be equal. And so to balance the charge, the side that has the more charge, you're going to add electrons to it. And this will just subtract the charge to what you need it to be. But and so really the key to balancing them is you're going to want to have the electrons in both half examples or half equations cancel. And so to do this, you might have to multiply an entire equation by 3 or 4 or even a bigger number to really cancel those electrons. And then after you multiply the half equation to make sure the electrons will cancel, you're going to recombine the half equations after simplifying. And then just by simplifying, I mean just really if you have an element on one side and another, then you'll just want to cancel them to just make your equation a little cleaner at the end. Then for key is only for basic equations. Really the only difference between acidic and basic solutions of how you do these equations is at the end, the basic, you're going to add hydroxide ions to both sides based on the number of hydrogen ions that you're trying to neutralize. And by this, I mean you're just really going to add the hydroxide to one side and it will cancel. But you'll see as I do it later. Okay, so for our acidic example, we have hydrogen peroxide and dichromate to form oxygen and chromium. And so first, we're going to split them into two equations. And our first half equation will be hydrogen peroxide to form oxygen. And we don't need to cancel any other elements that's not hydrogen and oxygen, since we only have hydrogen and oxygen. So, and we don't have to balance the oxygens either, because we have equal amounts of both too. And so we're only going to add 2 hydrogen ions over there. But now we have 0 charge over here and 2+ charge over here. And so to get rid of that charge, we're going to add 2 electrons. So now the charge is 0, and we have equal charges and equal elements on both sides. And so now we're going to move on to our second half equation, which will be dichromate to form chromium. And so first we're going to balance the elements that aren't oxygen, so it'll be chromium. So now we have 2 on both sides. Now we're going to add 7 waters over here so that we have 7 oxygens on both sides. Now we have 14 hydrogen ions, so we're going to add 14 H+ over here to have equal amount on both sides. But now the problem is we have 12+ charge over here, 14 plus 2 minus, and only 6+ over here. So we're going to want to add 6 electrons over here to make sure we can cancel it off. And now we have 6+ over here, 6+ over there. So we have equal charges and equal elements on both sides. But now we need to cancel have equal electrons on both sides. So we're going to multiply this whole equation by 3 to have 6 electrons in both half equations. So we're going to rewrite 3 hydrogen peroxides to form 3 oxygens plus 6 hydrogens plus 6 electrons. And now we're just going to cancel the equations. So we have 6 over here, 6 over here. We will get rid of all of these, and this will turn into only 8 hydrogens. And I think that's about it. So now we'll have 8 hydrogens plus dichromate, you see it, these two, then plus hydrogen peroxide to form chromium, 2 chromium, plus water, plus 3 oxygen. And that's going to be your equation. That's going to be the answer for your acidic example. Okay, now our basic example is going to be dichromate, once again, plus mercury is equal to the mercury ion and chromium. So let's get started. It's not going to be too different. We're going to start with all the exact same steps that we did before. We're going to split it into 2 half equations. So dichromate is equal to chromium 3 plus. Now we're going to have balance the elements that aren't oxygen or hydrogen. Now we're going to balance the hydrogen and oxygen. So we're going to have 7 waters over here. Now we have 14 hydrogens, so we have to add 14 hydrogens over here. Now we have 12 plus charge over here, but we only have 6 plus charge over here. So we're going to have to decrease this with 6 electrons. See that? So now this is 6 charge. Now we have equal charge on both sides and equal elements on both sides, so that equation will be done. Now we're going to work on our mercury half of the equation. So now we have mercury and the mercury ion, and those are balanced on both sides already, really. So the only thing we have to adjust for is the charge. So we have 2 plus charge over here and 0 charge over here. And so to get this one down to neutral charge like this one, we're going to add 2 electrons. So now we have 0 and 0, which is balanced. Now we're going to multiply this guy by 3 to have 6 electrons on both sides. So it's going to, but remember, you got to multiply the entire equation, not just the electrons. And now we're just going to simplify these 2 equations, this one and this one. So that will cancel, that will cancel. And I think that's about it. Getting lucky, these don't have to cancel much. Plus dichromate, 3 mercury to form 2 chromium plus 7 water plus 3 mercury ion. But now this is the tricky part about the basic equation. We're not done here. We got to remember that since it's basic, we can't just treat it like an acidic one. And so the last step, if you recall, is to cancel off the hydrogen ions with hydroxide ions. So we're going to add 14 hydroxide over here and 14 hydroxide over here. You got to remember to add it to both sides. And so the 14 hydroxide and the 14 hydrogen will combine to form 14 H2O plus dichromate. Everything else really stays the same to form plus the 14 hydroxide. And now the last part is really to just cancel the hot, since we have waters on both sides, it's best to cancel these, make that 7. So now we'll have the final answer, 7H2O plus dichromate, oh, forgot that, plus mercury to form 2 chromium 3 plus 3 mercury plus 14 OH minus. That's going to be your answer. Alright, that's it. Sorry about that. Now just let me know if you have any questions, and thanks for watching.